All right, we're gonna do a full body class, but we're gonna really focus on your hips and dynamic hip mobility. You're gonna need a yoga block of some kind. If you don't have a yoga block, you can just use any sort of knee padding. You might need knee padding anyway. So grab what you need, have it nearby. You're gonna start standing. We're gonna start with a very gentle hip mobility. You're gonna step with your feet shoulder or wider width, and you can bend your knees, but the first thing you're gonna do is just swing your hips side to side. Noticing if when you go side, you twist, high, like just think, can I just go side to side? Like my body's between two walls. I can't bump into the front or the back wall. I'm just seeing, can I do that? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step my feet a little closer, just as I'm moving. I'm gonna see if I can keep my body a little bit more like a bell. Right, so ding, ding. Can I get my hips to move side to side? Then you're gonna come center and think about your pubic bone and the coccyx or the tailbone aiming straight down. So your pelvic floor flashlight is aiming straight down, not forward, not back. And you're gonna circle it. Now allow your knees to adjust accordingly, right? So you don't have to have it like the knees locked, but I don't want you to think it's like a knee circle. Different thing. And then just go the opposite direction of whatever you chose to do. Most likely you chose your preferable direction because that's what all of us do. All right. Then find center, and then we're going to make your way down to the floor. We're going to finish standing as well, but make yourself down. Make your way down to the floor. Make sure that your block is nearby. You're going to take the block in between your thighs, pretty close to your pubic bone. Any knee or hand padding you need to, use that. Push into your hands like you're pushing the floor away. Push into your shins as if you're pushing the floor away. Hug the block between your thighs and slowly curl your pelvis, curl your tail underneath. Let that ripple into your lower back. Let that ripple into your rib cage. Let that ripple into your upper back, which is still your rib cage, your neck, and then your head. Breathe there. Keep the hug on the block. Keep pushing with your hands and your shins, and slowly let your tail reach up towards the ceiling. Your lower back or lumbar vertebra will drop down. Your thoracic vertebra will come down, and your throat will open, and your head will lift. One more like that. Push through your hands, push through your shins, rounding. It's cold in here today, so I've got all my layers on. So this is flexion of your spine, and then slowly you're going to go the other way. Tail up, ripple out through your spine, all the way through your head, extension. And then I want you to find a happy medium. So you don't have to be too rounded, like too arched or curled, just somewhere in the middle. You want to think about that pelvic floor flashlight, the area between your pubic bone and your tail, reaching straight back behind you as you push through your hands and shift back. Now, a lot of times we go back and one of two things happens. Either we really dump into our spine and shoulders and our spine goes into a lot of extension. There's a little bit of extension that naturally happens, but it shouldn't be something that we really feel necessarily. Or because we don't have the pelvic floor and hip mobility, we go tuck and we feel a nice stretch in our lower back or maybe even our shoulders, which is nice, but not what we want to do today. So I want you to explore 2 more times. You're going to go back and forth. You're going to think, can I keep my belly lifted so my spine doesn't sag? Meanwhile, aiming that pubic bone, that block, the sits bones, the tailbone, straight back. The sits bones will technically widen a little bit as you go back. Push into the shins, push into the arms, lift the belly, and then pull forward. One more like that. Pressing back. Breathing there, keeping the belly lifted, and then pulling forward. And I want you to tuck your toes. You're going to breathe in. As you exhale, push the floor away with your toes and your hands. Gently round. But what I'm thinking about when I round, I'm really lifting my ribs and my navel up versus just tucking my butt under. And you're just going to hover your knees off. And you're going to let your eyes look down to your knees, and you're just going to let one knee lower a little bit and then come back up. The other knee lower a little bit and come back to level. One knee drops and comes level. The other knee drops and comes level. One more time each side. And the other side. And then bring both knees down and rest. Take the block out away from you. Take one leg out to the side with the toes pointed forward. Push through your hands, shift back, allowing your pelvic floor flashlight to aim straight back. Keep the belly supported, the ribs supported, and pull forward. Do that 2 more times. Pushing back. Breathe into that pelvic basin. Pulling forward. Pressing back. And pulling forward. From there, bring that leg that's out to the side forward, but still to the outside of your hands and almost more forward of your hands. If you need to bring a block so that you're more upright, bring that around, right? So you can use that here. You're gonna go forward and back here. You get to play with letting this front hip crease, like this outer hip crease, really externally rotate and drop. And it's not like my knees turning out. Just the nature of going into this much hip flexion and deep knee bend, my femur will have to externally rotate a little bit to drop down there. Then if I wanted to add more stretch in the back leg, I could lift that back foot up and stretch. And then you're going to attempt to straighten your front leg. Now, this is a tricky one because a lot of times we go, oh, round it, I'm lifting, right? So I want you to think, I don't care if your leg straightens. I don't care if your hands are on the floor, if they need to come up. What I think about here is aiming that pelvis back, spine long and we'll say straight, as I attempt to straighten that leg. Breathing there, toes have lifted, stretching, and then you're gonna come forward and back one more time. Your version, and then stretch back. And then we're going to bring this leg around underneath you. You're going to take one shift in the center. Go back. Go forward. Notice how it feels different. Take the other leg out to the side. Shift back and forward 3 times. 3. Press through the floor. Press to that shin. Aim the flashlight back. 2. Breathing. I like to hold maybe on that third one and breathe a little deeper. Pull forward, bring that leg around and forward. Go forward and back. Again, letting this front leg, letting that outer hip crease kind of melt down to the floor. Use your hands wherever you need to. Bend the back knee if that's the right call for you. This side feels different for my body. Oh. And then going back. Attempt to straighten that leg, but keep your spine long. And then just one more. So not a ton of any of these. We're going, you're also picking what's your range. What's the right call for you? How long do you need to stay there? Do you need to stay there and breathe a little bit longer? And then attempt to straighten. And then you're going to bring that leg back underneath you. You're going to take your block underneath one knee. You're going to press down into that shin as you push your hands into the ground. So push the ground away really is the better cue. Send the floating leg back. If you don't feel comfortable doing this with your leg up, keep the toes on the ground. You could even keep the knee bent. So knee bent would be like level 1. The next level would be with the leg straight. And the next level would be lifting that leg. Push the floor away. Lift the head, the ribs, the belly, but not tucking, right? My pelvic floor flashlight is trying to aim straight back. I'm going to really work my block shin, my block leg, and I'm going to push into that leg to rotate my pelvis on that leg, to open my pelvis a little bit towards that straight leg or the floating leg side. And then I'm going to level everything off. And then I'm going to let that hip drop. Now, the challenge here is I am going to attempt to keep my chest squared with the mat, shoulders active, belly active, and my pelvis is rotating around this bottom leg. And I'm going to open, and then I'm going to level out, and then you're going to close, not close it, but you're internally rotating. So you're letting that floating leg turn in. You're going to push, you're going to level, You're gonna open out, pushing through that leg. You're gonna level. You're gonna turn in, and then you're gonna level, and then you're gonna bring that leg down, and then you're gonna explore the other side. Take the other knee or shin on the block, push through your arms, so push the floor away, knee bent on your floating side, leg straight with the foot down, or leg straight with the leg lifted, foot off the ground. Lift, lift, lift. Now you're gonna push through your bottom shin to open. Pushing, pushing, pushing. I'm working through gravity. Like I'm thinking about accentuating this downward pressure to get me to rotate. Did my chest stay square? Maybe, maybe not. Level off, and then drop that lifted leg. So I'm internally rotating. Then press through that shin to level off. Keep pushing to open up. Keep the work in your standing leg, the block leg, to level. And then turn in. Last one like this, just 3. If you need more, go for more. Press to level. Keep pressing with your bottom side to open up. Level. And then turn in. And then level. Bring that leg down. Take both legs off. Press through your shins, press through your hands. Shift back. Can you go back farther than you could at the beginning? Pull forward. Walk your hands a little forward. Walk your knees a little bit back. Take your block in between your pubic bone. Shift back only as much as you don't lose the block. Keep the belly lifting. Press through those arms. Breathe there. Exhale, hug the block. Hug those hips and come forward into a kneeling plank. When you're there, you're going to bend your elbows and lower down only the amount that you feel like you don't collapse, right? You're going to stay supported. You're going to straighten your arms. You're going to breathe and shift back. You're going to do that 2 more times. Not a ton, just waking everything up. Bending, straightening, and going back. And last one, coming forward, bending, straightening, shifting back. Find your hands and knees balanced. Take your block to the side. Come forward all the way down onto your belly and wiggle around. So as you wiggle around, I want you to create the most space between your pelvis on the mat and your chest and ribs on the mat. So wiggle around, stack the hands, and let your head rest on your hands. Just breathe there and let your shoulders rest. And I want you to rock a little bit side to side in your pelvis and in your pubic bone until you settle in. And there's 2 sides of your pubic bone, so I want you to notice if there one side has a little bit more pressure than the other, and how would you play around with trying to find it even in its pressure. Then I want you to think like front underwear line, front of the hip joint, that crease, that line from your pubic bone to your hip bone or your pelvic bone here. Can you lengthen and connect that down into the mat? Can you keep your ribs and chest heavy? As you bend one knee, and as you bend this one knee, I really want you to focus on keeping the front of that hip in contact with the mat. The other side, it might lift. That's okay. Just let it lift. Don't worry too much about it. Just think the front, the pubic bone, and the front of the leg that I'm moving, that front of the hip stays connected as you bend. Then you're going to reach back. You're going to grab that foot. Now, not everyone can reach back and grab. You might need a strap, or you might need to prop up a little bit to lift your upper body. And then what you're going to do is you are going to push your foot into your hand. Now, I'm still thinking, what's happening in the front of that hip? What's happening in my belly? What's happening between my ribs and my pelvis? Front of the hip, mainly on this side. I'm pushing my foot against my hand. Breathing. I'm going to start to imagine I'm lifting my knee up off the ground. Pushing my foot against my hand as I do that. And then release and pull your foot a little closer to your butt. Now, I didn't lift away from the mat. I'm pushing it into the mat. We're going to do that 2 more times. Push the foot away. You need to be up here, that's fine. Knee lifting and reaching, pushing the foot into the hand. Breathe. And then pull that foot in, pressing the front of that hip, pelvis, underwear line, whatever you think, towards the mat. Pulling the foot to the butt. Last one. Push the foot away. Breathe. Knee lifts and reaches. And then slowly coming in, pulling that foot to the butt. And we switch sides. So take a moment when you switch sides, bend your knees, and just windshield wiper the feet side to side. Notice what it feels like between the side you've stretched and the side you haven't. Different for sure. We do the other side. So find level first. Center yourself the best you can. Now, really focus on the side you're going to be moving. So push that side, that front of your hip, that side, that pubic bone is going to have a little more weight than the other side. You're going to bend and grab that foot. Now, if you can't grab the foot, you can lift up, or you could use a belt or a yoga strap or a TheraBand, whatever you've got. You're going to think, okay, I've got my foot in some manner. Can I press the front of this hip into the mat? Don't worry about the other side. Just focus on this side. Can I push it forward? Then can I push my hand into my foot, my foot into my hand, and keep the front of that hip down? Can I do that? And as I do that, can I then lengthen and lift through my knee a little bit? And then release and pull the foot towards the butt. And then we rinse and repeat. So you push that foot into the hand. You anchor the front of the hip. You reach and lift through the knee. You might lift up a little bit, that's fine. Try and not let your back do all the work here. And then you release and you pull that foot closer to the butt. And you do it one more time. So you press the front of the hip, you push the foot into the hand. Then when you got that going, you reach and lengthen, lift up through that knee. Breathe. And then slowly release down. Keep that knee reaching long as your foot pulls towards your hip or towards your butt. And then release. From there, you are going to roll over onto your back. You're going to grab your block. And we're going to do a little belly work into some bridging work. So the block is going to go, first let's do the block between the hands. Why not? We got it here. If you need a little head support, and that will help your ribs drop onto the mat, do that. Palms on either side of the block, feet pressing down. You could pull or push with your feet to help you figure out where you want your back to be, and then you're in charge of keeping your back stable there. Then you're going to reach your arms overhead with the elbows straight, neck is long. You breathe into that back and side body. You exhale, hug the belly in. Maybe you add a little pelvic floor elevator, belly wrapping in, arms pulling the block over the chest, and doing that 2 more times. Inhale, reach. Exhale, coming up. 1 more. Inhale, reach. Pulling the belly in. Take the block between the thighs on the narrow setting. Walk the feet and knees closer together. Lift the heels. Slide the feet towards your hips. And then slowly bring the legs up. Notice if your ribs came off. My neck is getting a little pull today. Bring the ribs back. Bring the navel back. Think about the femurs, your thigh bones, dropping into the socket. So right here, the sits bones don't have to be too wide or too narrow. If you just think about not squeezing the block, but like your legs and your outer hips magnetize into the center of that block, like the block is a magnet, drawing the outer hips and the femurs towards center. So like my greater trochanters, my femoral heads, my femur shafts, they're all hugging to center. All of a sudden my belly's like, oh, that's different. My pelvic floor gets a little involved, but not in a tightened way. And you're going to breathe there, and then you're going to let your legs float away, and your arms go overhead, and you're going to breathe in here. And then you're going to exhale, pull the belly in, hug everything to the center, bring the arms and legs together. You're going to do that 2 more times. So not a ton, because we got more hip things to do. Exhale, hugging everything center from the outside in, shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, reach. Exhaling, coming all the way in. From there, take the block between your feet, bring it down to the ground. Rotate your block so it's on a wide, the lowest setting and the widest one. You can lift up and make sure that you feel like your block's pretty much in the center of your body, and we're going to work there. If you need to scooch it a little to the right or the left as you move through this, that's fine. Arms can be down by your side, but if you find that your shoulders really round forward, then you might want to bend the elbows and kind of press the back of the arms and the armpits down. If you've got head support, you can toss it to the side because we're going to be here with bridging. So we're going to do 3 bridges here, just like this. Feel the toes and the ball of the foot wide. Feel the foot hugging the block and the heel pushing down. You can curl the pelvis under and begin to bridge up, or you could just hinge up. Totally depends on your body. You're going to come up either in a hinge or rolling articulated bridge, and you're going to breathe there at the top, making sure that your belly didn't do the work that your butt needed to do. And then you're going to roll down. And as you roll down, notice like I just slid a lot of weight into my upper back, and that feels nice. But I want to make sure I'm still kind of have a little bit of pull with my feet, not too much, but a little bit to give me a tiny bit of traction there. You're going to breathe in. As you exhale, you're going to hug everything center. You're going to bridge up, press down through those feet. Take a moment at the top and slowly roll down. Rolling, 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 and releasing. And then you're going to do that again. Press through your feet, bridging up. Take a moment there at the top. And then you're going to roll down. All right, now you're going to take one foot onto the block. If you need to move it a little bit over that side because it feels really lopsided, by all means. I like to just keep it in the center just because it helps me. If you need your arms down all the way, do that. If you need them a little bit, I call this robot arms, you can do that. You're going to push through both feet and lift up just a little bit. Swing your butt so you can feel your butt cheeks basically grazing the mat, but trying to find level, right? Pull a little bit with that block foot, really push through the whole foot. Float your other leg up. You can just lift the heel. So level 1 is just lift the heel. Level 2 is tabletop. Level 3 is straight leg. Now, you're just going to tap the hips down and up. And down and up. Just 5. 3 and up. And 4 and up. Last 1 and up. Bring yourself down. Bring both feet on either side of the block. Adjust accordingly. Bring the other foot on. Press to that whole foot. Press into both feet. Find your level by just hovering the pelvis just a little bit. Float that other leg up to your version. And then you're going to press down to that block foot to lift up for 1. Tapping it down. Lift up 2. Now, this is not your back and your ribs leading. It's the downward pressure of your foot into that block that engages your hamstrings and glutes to get your hip moving. It is not a spinal movement. Your spine's going along for the ride of what's happening in your pelvis here. And then come all the way down. Bring both feet on either side of the block. Adjust, wiggle, whatever you need to do. Bring the other foot onto the block. Press into both feet. And just lift there and hold. Now, figure out where you need to be that you're not swinging too far side to side. And you could keep the feet just like this. You could lift one heel up. You could be tabletop. You could be lifted. What I'm going to do is just lift my heel on this one. And I'm going to think my pelvis is like a skateboard, typewriter, whatever you want to think. And you are going to just typewriter to one side, ding, hit the hip out to that side, come back to center. Stay on the block side. Go ding, come back to center. Really find center. Go out to that side. Ding. Now this is the same thing. I'm not rotating. We're going to rotate next. Come center. Hold there. And this is why I chose not to lift my leg. It's because I'm holding here for a minute. So now we're going to rotate. But I'm rotating around this block leg. So what I'm going to do is allow my floating side to drop down. Now I did not swing my hip out to the side, so I'm not typewritering here. I am rotating by dropping that hip down, and then I'm going to rotate over that leg to come back to center. Now because I have the floating foot on the ground, I am using some of those muscles to help me find center. That's fine, but really I'm having to use my block leg and my block hip and rotators and glutes to find level. Do it again. Drop the floating side down. Push into your block foot to find a level. You could lift your head up and watch if it doesn't hurt your neck. One more. This knee is not wobbling. And then find level. Keep level. Lower your leg down that's lifted. Bring your hips down. We try the other side. Take the other foot on the block. All right. We typewriter or skateboard, and then we rotate. So you push into both feet. You lift up just a little bit. You lift the non-block side. You lift that heel, you lift that leg, you straighten whatever is right for you. You are going to typewriter out to the block side. Ding. Now, did you rotate? You can feel it because your hips might even like touch the ground on one side versus the other. Try to stay really what we call lateral. Your knee is not doing it. Your hips are trying to do it. Then come center. Then you're going to do that again. And you're going to go out, 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 out. Ding. And then back to center. And then you do it again. Ding, 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 ding. Ding. Out to the side. Back to center. When you're center, we're going to add rotation. So knee, I'm pivoting around. My floating hip is going to drop. That butt cheek touches the ground. This knee, my block leg, does not go anywhere. I'm rotating the pelvis around it. Then I've got to push into that foot to wrap the pelvis back to level. My knee doesn't need to turn out to do that. And then try it again. Breathing. Exhale. Come level. Last one. Drop. So just about 3 on each little thing here. And then level. Find level. Your lifted leg, bring it down. Did you lower level? All right, from there, you're gonna roll to your side. Line up with the back edge of your mat. Have your knees bent. And we're gonna use the block, of course. So I'm gonna take the block on this medium height. So if you need to go higher or you need to go lower, do that. I'm gonna take my leg on top of here. Bottom leg can just be somewhere out of your way. Take your top hand to your top hip, push it away, pull your belly in, pull your ribs back, pull your head back. You don't want to be, I know it's tempting to like look down at everything. Look, correct. And then we're gonna turn in this top leg, flex the foot just so you're not thinking, should I be flexed or pointed, just flex. Internally rotate this leg. Now, am I doing it from my foot? Hopefully not. Hopefully you're doing it from your thigh on this block. And then lower down. And do that 2 more times. Turning in. And lower down. 3rd time's a charm. Turning in. Now, how much internal rotation do you have before the pelvis gets involved? You know, not a ton. I mean, just biomechanically, we don't have a lot. But everyone's a little bit different. Depends on like the angles of your femurs into your hip joint and all the stuff. So you might have more than me, I have less than me. Hold here. And then lift up your leg and lower it. Keep the internal rotation. Lift and lower. Keep the internal rotation. Lift and lower. Last one, lift and lower. From there, you're going to lift up. Slide your block out of the way. Keep that internal rotation. Start to externally rotate, but keep that pelvis square. Bring that heel down, and behind you, tap the heel down. Maybe even push the heel into the ground, and lift that leg up. Bring it forward, and internally rotate. Knee will go down towards the floor. It may tap, it may not. Lift up, turn out. Bring that leg back. Heel down to the ground behind you a little bit. And then lift up, turn in, tap the knee down. Lift up, turn out. Bring the heel down. One more. Lifting up, turning in, lower down. Lifting up, turning out, tap the heel down. Then lift your leg up, stretch it out straight, and rotate it to parallel. Ribs, waistline, pelvis, are you level? What about that pelvic floor flashlight? A lot of times we're on our side, we start to aim it forward. Keep your ribs contained, but reach your pelvic floor flashlight right underneath that ankle, heel of this side. And you're going to keep that as you lift up and lower down. I always like to think my foot is on the wall, and I keep it with the wall the whole time. And we're just doing 5 of these. 4, 5, bring your hand to the mat in front of you. Kick your bottom leg straight out towards the front corner of your mat.
Bring your top leg to join your bottom leg. Turn out a little bit. So it doesn't have to be ballet turn out, but just a little bit of turn out with the heels together. Push into this hand that's on the ground. Pull your rib cage and your belly away from that forearm, away from that hand, and see if you can lift both legs up without just your toes going up. Can you lift both legs up and lower down? And can you lift both legs up and lower down? Can you lift both legs up? Bend your knees. Get a little click in your knees like I did. Bring the feet down. Press through your arms. You'll slide your legs if you need to. You can straighten that top leg. You're going to do a little side stretch. And then we're going to swing our legs around and do the whole other side. So knees are bent. Have your block on the medium setting, or high, or low. Head, shoulders, ribs, pelvis, toes. And you're going to bring this top leg up onto this block. I'm going to try and get it as close to 90 degrees or even a little bit higher than 90 as possible. And I'm just going to rest there. Take my top hand to my hip, push, or my pelvis, push it away. Belly, ribs are active. Flex my foot, turn in that leg. Lower it down. Turn in the leg. Lowering down. Different on this side. And you will find the same is true. You'll be like, I don't know, my hip really moves on this one, or my pelvis is all over the place, or I just can't go anywhere, or man, I got a lot more. You'll figure out what you need. And then you're going to turn in, you're going to hold that. Keep that internal rotation coming from your femur, and you're going to keep that as you lift up and down. 5 of these. Up and down. When I come down, I also like to push a little bit into the block just to give myself a little reciprocal inhibition kind of vibes. 4. Ooh, I'm losing my turn in. 1 more. As soon as I lift, I want to really turn out. I'm going to try and stay turned in. And then down, and then you're going to lift up. You're going to turn out, move your block out of the way, bring that leg externally rotate, bring it down and behind, tap that heel down, then lift it up, turn it in and down, and lift up, turn out, bring the heel down behind you. Lifting up, turning in, knee in front of you. Lifting up, turning out, heel behind you. Lifting up, turning in, knee in. Lifting up, turning out, heel down, lifting up, turning in, knee in. Last one. And then you're going to lift that leg. You're going to straighten it out. You're going to roll it parallel. Check in with your alignment. Ribs, belly. Pelvic floor flashlight right underneath that ankle and heel of that top leg. Reach your foot as if it's on a wall and slide it up your imaginary wall and slide it down. And slide it up and down. And up and down. 2 more up and down. Last one up and down. Then lift it up. Bring your hand to the ground in front of your ribs and your belly. Kick your bottom foot forward with a little bit of turnout. Bring your top leg to join it. A little bit of turnout. Glue those heels together. Make sure you don't lift with just your toes. Push into that arm. Lift both legs up together. And lower down. Press and lift both legs up together. And lower down. Press and lift both legs up together. And lower down. Bend the knees. Use your arms to come all the way up. And a little side bend there. Breathing. And then we're going to come back onto your back. We're going to use the block between our feet. If you can, if it feels okay with your spine, you might need to just lay on your side and roll back, but if you can, you're going to take the block between the feet, hands behind the thighs, and you're going to roll back, hanging onto that block. Let your pelvis curl under, shoulders are relaxed, pelvis rolls, spine rolls, ribs roll, head comes down. If you need head support, grab it. Then you're going to straighten your legs out. You've got this block between your feet. If it feels too wide, flip it to a narrow setting. If it feels too narrow, go wider. Support your head and neck in your hands. If you need to do this without any head lift because of your neck, do that. Wrap your elbows into your peripheral vision. Take a big breath in as you exhale. Sink your front ribs down towards your pelvis. My breastbone is pulling towards my navel and pubic bone. My ribs are drawing together and down towards my hips. The back of my rib cage is pushing against the ground. My block is being hugged by my inner foot. My toes are spread. I'm breathing there. And then as I come down, I'm going to think, how much ab work does it take to keep my ribs down? And then we do that again. Coming up and down. Coming up and down. Coming up and down. 2 more. Coming up and down. Last one up and down. So not a ton there. From there, bring your feet in, separate your feet. You're going to do a little knee sway. So you're going to let both knees drop one way. I want you to think about the bottom leg externally rotating and the top leg internally rotating. Take a breath there. On your exhale, pour your ribs, your waistline, your pelvis back into center. Really find center. I always find it both for my pelvis and my feet, and then go to the other side. Bottom leg turns out, top leg turns in. Breathing there. Exhale, ribs, waistline, pelvis. One more time each side. Inhale, knee sway. Exhale, come center. Inhale. Other side. Exhale, center. Bring your knees into your chest. Take a deep breath into your pelvic floor, your lower back, and your back body. When you're ready, you're going to either rock straight up through the center or roll to the side, and you're going to make your way all the way up to standing. First thing we're going to do is take the block underneath our foot. We're going to take one foot on there. Press into that foot. Take a moment. Level yourself off. So I'm going to see, can I, if you have a bigger block, it's nice to do that. I'm prioritizing, my foot is big enough that my toes do hang off the block. So I'm prioritizing my heel and the ball of my foot over my toes. I just had to make a choice. So that's what I decided to, because I want to feel the heel. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down through that block without locking my knee. So I'm thinking about reaching through my femur, keeping my shin underneath my femur, not behind my femur, to help me. And then I'm going to lift my other leg up and down, keeping my pelvis level. 2, 3. Hold that. Now, kind of let your hip hike, like let the hip swing out to the side. Is that hard? And then I want you to gather this hip that went out to the side, wrap it, use all those muscles from your bridging from earlier, wrap it, bring it underneath you. Bring your ribs back, head up towards the ceiling. Try that again. Swing that hip out to the side, press and level. One more. And then press and level. From there, try the other side. I'm going to flip my block over because my block is a little squishy. Okie dokie. So, pressing into that foot, seeing this side is different. So push into that foot, press, and can I level everything? I'm going to think about pushing the block through the ground, standing tall, not just on my shin by kind of pushing my knee back. I'm really thinking about my thigh, getting my pelvis really high on top of that femoral head. And then I'm going to see, can I bend my lifted leg? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the lift is like low. Maybe it feels safer down low. And then I'm just going to hold there. And I'm going to see, can I stay level? Different on this side. So different. Wrap that hip underneath me. Push through my whole foot. I'm losing my foot. And then you're going to bring that leg down. And then you're going to lift it up. And then down. And then up. And then down. And then you're going to lift and hold. And you're going to let this hip swing out to the side. Easier on the side to get that hip to like bloop. But harder for me to integrate it to that center line. Pelvic floor flashlight starting to aim forward for me, so I'm going to aim it down.
Going out to the side, whoop, and then level, and then one more. So you can see it's way different. First side, not that big a deal for me to balance on. This side's so much harder. And then bring that leg down. Now, got one more thing here. Kick your block to the side. You're gonna bend your knees. You're gonna feel, am I forward of my foot, am I back of my foot? I'm gonna be evenly distributed. Go back to whatever your first leg was. You're gonna lift this other leg up. You're gonna bring it in front of you. And you're just gonna see, can I bend and straighten in front? Do 2. Can I take my leg out to the side? Can I bend and straighten there? Can I track the standing leg? Can I bring that leg back? Bend and straighten there. All right, pitch really far forward. Maybe that's what you need to do. Belly is working. Can I bring this leg back behind me? Can my knees still aim forward over my toes and come back to center? Can I go behind me and forward? Maybe it's more like, okay, I went that far, but you're working through this hip to come center. It's all the stuff we started with, like kneeling, rotating the pelvis, all the bridging stuff. Try the other side. Bring the other foot forward, toes forward. You just bend and straighten. Ooh, my hip wants to whoop. Can I find my plumb line? Can I find my foot? And down and up. Take the leg out to the side. And there's other directions we can go. I'm just picking some to explore. Take that leg behind you. Ooh. Different. It's so different on one side than the other. Gotta really tune in on this side for me. I have to really tune into how that hip is wrapping underneath, how it integrates to my pelvic floor, my core. Bring that leg behind you. Bend. And my pelvis is moving, but as I do this, I'm making sure my knee's not knocking in. It's going right over those middle toes, and then I've got to whoop, wrap all that around. I'm not trying to do it from my shoulder and my back. I'm really trying to do it from my foot to my hip. Going down, coming back around. If you need to do one more on whichever side, you do that. Come back to standing. Step your feet wide. I want you to think about being between those 2 walls. Your knees soft. Try not to knock into the front wall or the back wall as you just shift your hips side to side. Does it feel any different than when you started? Definitely feels more like a pendulum. Bring your feet a little closer together and your legs a little straighter, and see if you can get your pelvis to circle. Right? You're drawing with that flashlight on the floor. Go the other direction. Keep the knees a little loose. And then find center. We're going to finish by stabilizing. So grab your block. Take it between your thighs as close to your pubic bone as you feel comfortable. Bend your knees into a squat. See if you can get low enough to then allow your hands to find the ground. And I know this is hard because you got the block between your thighs. Just inch one of your feet back. Wiggle the heels back. Bring your chest over your hands. Hug the block. Hug the block. So the block helps inner thigh to inner thigh connection between your thighs, which helps you from like jamming your tail forward and shearing at your pubic bone, like your pubic bone's pressing too far forward. Aim your pubic bone right at that block rather than towards the ground. 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. Keep pushing the floor away as you bring your knees down and press back here, allowing your sits bones to widen. So it's a little different than child's pose. You're going to have your hips up or butt up and your head down and your arms out. And see if you can bring your head down, and can you keep your belly lifting here? So you're not overly rounding, but you're not overly arching. You're hugging the block, pressing with your arms. It might look like here, right? It might look a little more integrated than like collapse. So you figure out what's right for you. 2 more breaths here. Hugging the block while also allowing myself to open and yawn my pelvic floor is like a really interesting dynamic. Walk the hands towards your legs. Take the block to the side. And you're done. So hopefully your hips feel like they're really underneath you and you're standing taller and you feel more secure.
Until next time, keep moving.